what do you feel your generation's entitlement would be?
I think our entitlement, and I now this is going, I think entitlement can be both good and bad, where it either subjugates change or it like creates tension. And I think that in a way, my generation does feel entitled to speaking our opinions and sticking up for ourselves and finally putting our like the foot down, the obviously like hyperbole of a foot of just what we deserve and what we demand and like okay this is something that we're now going to talk about such as mental health or such as estrangement instead of like sweeping it under the rug. Now we're I feel like we in my generation feel entitled to the opportunity to speak our truth and to speak our mind and let people know what's going on instead of suffering in silence because it makes us look weak.
I'm
Where do you
curious.
think that came from?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
that was my question. How did
Okay.
it start?
I think it's an amalgamation of every generation changing from the one before them, learning from each other's mistakes, even in the smallest ways, and watching like that pain and having, I think the connection that we have now with social media and having that ready access to everything is a boon and a bane to our generation where now we're more connected than ever. We don't feel as isolated of like, I'm the only one going through this. I'm the only one who understands how I feel. And I'm the only one who would really get the like this so isolation would happen and now instead it's posted and more people are like wait a second I feel exactly like that and I'm not alone. So I think it the community that has been built through communication whether good or bad has created this good entitlement I think in my generation where now it's like hey wait a second this isn't right and being able to call out like things that we want to change. I mean obviously there's two sides to that. But for now, focusing on estrangement and the mental health aspect of it, I think that that comes from being like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be miserable and like just drinking my sorrows away all the time, like suffering in silence. That sounds terrible. I'll bitch about it on Twitter.
The millennials, so Aaliyah's generation is actually labeled as the therapy generation. So it is interesting that you kind of feel entitled to be able to, speak about mental health and yeah, it's very loud in your generation. Yeah, absolutely. Aaliyah, did you want to comment on that?
I don't know. I guess I've never had a sense of entitlement, but maybe I just don't even know that I do because I'm a millennial. It's just, I always felt like I could just do what I want, especially when I finally moved out of my mom's house. I felt this like new sense of freedom that I was like, finally was able to find myself. And so I felt like I was able to do kind of whatever I wanted to do in a sense. So I just didn't feel like I felt like I could kind of forge my own path in the sense that no one in my family or before me had done. And so it just felt really freeing when when I got out on my own that I could make my own decisions that like one time I decided not to vote because I was like everybody was telling me I needed to vote, you need to vote because I was like but I'm not educated enough. Let me take this year and educate myself so I can make an educated vote and I'm not just voting like my mom voted like I did the last 3 years. I was like let me take this time to educate myself so I can know what my opinions are. And so I think that's like finally I felt a sense of entitlement in that way because I finally was taking my own opinions and generating my own opinions where before I felt like I was just kind of under the like doing what everybody else was doing rather than making decisions for myself. And I think that how I see entitlement is that like I finally am entitled to my own opinions, my own life, making my own life decisions now.
Well, I felt
It's
that
almost
too
like you're entitled to
in my
freedom.
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt
What,
that
Jill?
finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it's almost like it, like feeling entitled to freedom in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Ruth, you felt that too going
Yeah.
into your 20s, 30s?
Yeah, I grew up in a conservative family. My dad was a minister and mom stayed at home, so it was very sheltered kind of life. And I am a very free spirit, and it was hard for me. So I was really glad to had fun in my 20s. I had too much fun. in my 20s. I'm surprised I'm alive. Actually, I think that often. I'm like, I don't know how I'm alive. But yeah.
Dr. Ruth, the party animal.
Yeah, I had some fun. Yeah. All this gray
There's a
hair
reason
comes
we
from.
weren't born in the same generation.
I know. I know. Yeah, I felt the same way.
Okay, so every generation feels entitled to breaking away, having their own freedom, making their own decisions, living their own life. Okay, so we all felt this way. Yeah, I think it's unanimous. We all felt this way.